This story takes place when I was 17 years old. My name is Ethan, and I used to hit the gym 3 to 4 times a week, always taking the bus home. It was a cold Sunday evening, and I had just missed my usual bus. My parents, Sarah and David, were out for the evening, and taxis were way too expensive, so I decided to wait it out at the bus shelter. Snowflakes had just started dusting the ground, and the biting chill was creeping through my jacket. As I waited, the minutes dragged on. To pass the time, I pulled out my phone and started listening to some music. Almost an hour had passed, and I hadn't seen a single soul. That's when I noticed someone out of the corner of my eye. The encounter. A man dressed in layers of tattered clothing was shuffling towards me. Something about him made my stomach churn. He looked disheveled, his movements slow and unsteady. Trying not to draw his attention, I kept my focus on my phone. He sat down at the opposite end of the shelter, but I could feel his eyes burning holes into me. His stare was unsettling, and I could tell something wasn't right. After a moment, he slurred out, "What does the bus do?" I pulled out one of my earbuds and replied, "I think it's delayed because of the snow." He didn't respond right away. Instead, he stared at me with glassy eyes, then started mumbling to himself. My heart raced as I pretended to scroll on my phone, desperate to seem unbothered. But then I noticed he was inching closer. I glanced up briefly, and he had slid even nearer. My breath hitched. "You okay there?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't reply. Instead, he leaned toward me, his arm reaching out. That was it. I grabbed my bag and bolted down the street, not daring to look back. The next bus stop I ran until I reached the next bus stop, gasping for air. I turned to check behind me, but the man was nowhere to be seen. Relief washed over me as I sat down, letting my guard down just a little. I leaned my head against the glass wall of the shelter, trying to calm my nerves. But then I jolted upright. There he was, standing just outside, staring at me through the glass. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I shouted, panic rising in my chest. He didn't say a word, just started walking around the shelter toward me. "I'm warning you, stay back," I yelled, backing away. My bag was still on the bench, but I couldn't bring myself to grab it. In a flash, the man lunged at me. I managed to dodge him, and he stumbled, crashing face first onto the ground. He lay motionless, blood pooling beneath him. Frozen in shock, I hesitated before calling the police and paramedics. When they arrived, I explained everything. They told me the man, who they identified as Thomas, was on a cocktail of prescription drugs. As they searched his belongings, they found a photo in his wallet, a picture of him with a young boy. The boy looked eerily like me. Later, I learned Thomas had lost custody of his son, Daniel, in a bitter legal battle. It seemed he had mistaken me for his child in his altered state. He was taken to a treatment facility, and I never saw him again. Not long after, I got my driver's license and vowed never to ride the bus again.